Are you sure you don't want to do this, Diskette? After all, you're more familiar with the consoles and computers on this world.
No, I'm good.
Okay then. Hello, I'm Graduwane, and welcome to a new little feature we're doing called
A new look at old video games.
Nowadays, home computers and home consoles have greater memory and greater capability. Games are pretty much identical on each platform. Mainly because they're made that way. They're made in a generic sense, and then they have the coding put on as a little packet at the end that allows it to either be on the home computer or on the Xbox 360 or PS3 or a Nintendo Wii, what have you. So it's the same game across the different consoles. And people like the way that's set up. Fine. But back in the day, when memory was at a premium and the different home computers, or as Diskette calls them, consputers, and the home consoles had different capabilities. Some could handle more enemies on screen, others could handle more colors, some had more sound. It changed from console to console, or consputer to consputer, or console to consputer. Everything was different then. And gameplay makers that made games across the various consoles and computers had different philosophies on how to make their games for each system. We're going to look at the four prevailing ones, starting with the one that prevails today.
Activision. Their goal was to have all games look and play the same on all consoles, so all gamers, get the same experience. That translates into make games for the worst console, then adapt that for all the better consoles.
Yes, Activision existed back then, and yes, they did make games. And if you want to know what they look like, just look up any of their Atari VCS games. Because Atari VCS was the worst of the consoles in that day, and therefore all their games for the Intellivision and Coleco were pretty much Atari 2600, i.e. VCS games, just adapted for the other consoles. And that seems to be the prevailing philosophy because all of them have the same capability these days. And so there is no real worst in that sense nowadays. Up next, Magic makes games utilizing the capabilities of the consoles, playing up to their strengths. Sounds good. Translation? Yeah, it means add different things to the games depending on the console, each one getting something different. Imagine if the Magic philosophy was around today. Say a company made a first-person shooter. On the Xbox, you might have boss fights, while on the PS3 you would have more customization abilities. You know, you can have different palette swaps and different characters you could play as. And on the Nintendo, you might have bigger map packs. And on the PC, you'd have multiplayer. Could you imagine a game maker these days doing something like that? The chaos would be awesome! I'd love to see that. I wish somebody would try that. It'd fail on its backside, but yeah, I want to see that. I'm naughty. Next up,
Parker Brothers. Yes, they made video games. Their idea was to make games with the same gameplay on all consoles and computers, even if graphics had to be sacrificed. Translation? That means the game's appearance varied between the consoles and the computers, and sometimes extra elements are lost, but all the basic gameplay is retained, resulting in arcade-level fun for the home gamer. So what if there wasn't a sea hag throwing bottles, or some of the enemies in Qbert were lost, like Ugg and Runway? You still had the snake, you still had slick, trying to change the blocks back to the basic colors. You know, what more do you need?
Yes, there was a Parker Brothers division that made video games. And their video games, all arcade adaptations, were pretty much the same on every console, every computer. And if you liked Q*bert or Popeye or Frogger, you got what you paid for. You got a Frogger game, or a Q*bert game, or a Popeye game. Regardless if you owned a TI or an Atari computer or console or a television, what have you. And sad that that kind of went away because that was kind of cool. Although nowadays we kind of have that now. Although the graphics are all the same. I guess that's an improvement. Next up,
and then there's tier attacks, where they make the games that look like their arcade counterparts, even if gameplay is sacrificed for the graphics. In translation, that means that the games look like their arcade counterparts, but have significant elements missing and have worse overall gameplay. I.e., see Ashens.
Who's Ashens?
Famous YouTube reviewer. He's really cool.
Ah. Okay. Check out his videos then. He apparently knows his stuff. I grew up with the Spectreline 500. It's now up to the 5,000, so they started the numbering over once they reach 1,000. You know, start with 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000. 5,000 is the latest model. I prefer it. What can I say? All these consoles and computers here, different memory capabilities, different graphic capabilities, different sound capabilities. And people had to squeeze out what they could for everything. Some people emphasized graphics, some emphasized gameplay, some wanted everyone to have the same experience, some wanted everyone to have an experience tailored to their home gaming system. Nowadays, with pretty much all of them being the same, it's kind of generic, you know. Surprised they don't all come with yellow boxes with black labeling on them. I'm Graduwane, and this has been a new look at some old video games. Hope you liked it.
This has been a new look at old video games.
If you like my analysis, why don't you check out Trendy Indies over at Blip TV. Dark Driver analyzes comic books the same way I analyze the comics market. I'm certain you'll like it.